My wife called me draining and snuck off with another man. So I exposed her affair on her birthday in front of everyone. Even his wife showed up. I never thought I'd be the kind of person typing out one of these long breakup posts on Reddit. But here I am, awake at 2 a.m. in my brother's tiny living room with a cheap beer I'm barely tasting because sleep won't come. My name is Mark. I'm 34. And until a couple months ago, I would have said we were the picture of an ordinary, steady family. My wife, Hannah, is 34. We've been together almost 7 years. I have a 14-year-old daughter, Lila, from a previous relationship. Hannah stepped into her life years ago, and, for most of that time, she was patient with Lila in a way I admired. Lately, though, something changed. It didn't explode overnight. It crept in like the kind of leak you only notice when a floorboard finally gives. At first, it was small stuff. Hannah stopped asking how my day went, stopped sending those little messages from work about dinner or dumb things she saw. She used to text me a photo of whatever she was cooking and a line like, "Save me some." Now she'd be scrolling when I walked in and barely look up. I told myself it was stress. I told myself that maybe we'd fallen into the comfort of routine and that wasn't a bad thing. But the distance grew. I suggested a date night, and she answered like it was a bother. "Do we have to do this?" she said. "Honestly, you're draining. I need some space. Can't you just let me breathe?" Those words stung in a way I couldn't place. We'd baked a life together, shared bills, argued over wallpaper choices, cheered each other through little victories. And, in one sentence, she reduced me to an annoyance. There's nothing theatrical about betrayal at first. Its ordinary moments turned sharp. That comment stayed with me, followed me into the kitchen, into Lila's school talk, into the silence at night. After that, the excuses multiplied. Walks became longer. Girls' nights ballooned into whole weekends. The story made sense because it was plausible. People step away from things for a while. But every time she came back, she seemed happier than she had any right to be around what we called home. She'd tuck her phone beneath a cushion like it was a small, private prize. She smiled at messages and put the phone away like it was nothing. It bothered me, but I tried not to let it swallow me. I didn't want to be the guy who turned his whole life into confrontation. Lila noticed before I did. She has a way of seeing things adults try to hide. The sort of clear, impatient logic teenagers develop to survive grown-up nonsense. One night, when Hannah said she had yoga, Lila sat at the table, arms folded, and said plainly, "Dad, I think Mom's cheating on you." I laughed because what else do you do when your kid says something that sounds like it came from a soap opera? I told her not to say things like that, to be careful, partly to protect her, partly to protect the life we had. She rolled her eyes and said, "I'm not dumb. I've seen her whispering on the phone. She deletes messages. She hides her location. She's not even careful." That line, her belief, not mine, stayed in the room with us. I wanted to dismiss it. I wanted to be the man who kept the house steady and didn't play detective. But a small, stubborn part of me needed to know. The rest of the night, I lay awake thinking about the way she'd called me draining, the way laughter in photographs looked staged, the way a person can stop being present and still be physically there. I didn't know then how quickly the next few days would change everything. I tried to brush off what Lila had said, but the truth is it wouldn't leave my head. A kid shouldn't have to carry thoughts like that about her stepmom. Still, I told her she was wrong. I gave the kind of weak smile parents use when they want to reassure their kids but aren't sure themselves. She didn't buy it. She just stared at me like she pitied me, then said, "Dad, you don't see it because you don't want to." That cut deeper than she realized. That night, when the house went quiet, I couldn't shake it. Every sound made me more restless. Around midnight, I picked up Hannah's iPad. She never touched it anymore, but I knew it was still synced to her phone. My hands shook as I typed in her passcode. I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe I wanted proof that Lila was wrong, that I was overthinking. But the messages were there. Dozens of them. Some of the texts were harmless at a glance. But the tone, the timing, they told the truth. Then came the late-night conversations with someone named Ethan. The kind of messages you don't mistake for innocent. "Last weekend was perfect. Wish you were lying here instead of him." There were pictures too. Things I'll never unsee, no matter how much I want to. I sat there in the glow of that screen, feeling like the walls were pressing in. The woman I'd built my home with, the woman who kissed my daughter goodnight, had another life unfolding right there in those texts. And the worst part? She'd called me draining while giving her best self to another man. The next morning, I confronted her. I didn't yell. I just held up the iPad and asked her to explain. She didn't flinch, didn't even try to spin it. She looked at me with this flat expression and said, "You've been boring for years, Mark. I wanted excitement. Ethan gives me that. I don't regret it. I can't describe what that did to me. It was like someone pressing down on your chest until you couldn't breathe. All those years, holidays, birthdays, fights we patched up because love was supposed to be stronger, It meant nothing to her. I went quiet. Maybe she expected me to beg or bargain, but I couldn't. I just sat there while she grabbed her keys and walked out like we were discussing dinner plans instead of tearing a family apart. Later that night, Lila sat beside me on the couch. She didn't cry or get angry. She just put her hand on mine, steady and sure, and said, "Dad, don't yell at her. Don't fight. Don't beg. Just let her think she's winning. But when the time comes, you'll show her she ruined herself." She spoke with this calm certainty that didn't match her age. I don't think I've ever felt prouder of her. She was right. Hannah wanted me to unravel so she could justify what she was doing. But instead, we'd wait. We'd let her keep walking into her own mess, piece by piece. So I listened to my daughter. I stayed quiet. And that's when the shift happened inside me. I stopped being the man trying to hold a broken marriage together. I started being the man who was preparing. From that moment on, I changed how I carried myself. I didn't argue when Hannah said she was heading out for the night. I didn't ask questions when she stayed gone until early morning. I let her think I was shrinking, too weak to stop her. She seemed almost lighter around me, like she believed she'd already beaten me. But behind that calm silence, I was keeping track of everything. Every late-night call she thought I didn't notice, every charge on our joint credit card, every hotel receipt that popped up in the email I still had access to. I saved it all. Screenshots of her texts, records of her FaceTime calls, even her location history when she forgot to switch it off. She thought she was clever, but she was careless. Meanwhile, at home, things looked stranger by the day. She would come in late, toss her heels by the door, and walk straight past me like I was furniture. She'd spray herself with vanilla perfume, shower, and crawl into bed without a word. Lila watched all of it, her jaw set tighter each day, but she didn't lash out. She followed her own advice. Let Hannah think she was untouchable. One night, Lila spoke up again. We were sitting at the kitchen table, the air heavy with quiet. She said, "Dad, don't waste this on a fight in the living room. If you want her to feel it, do it in front of everyone she pretends to care about." That idea stuck with me. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about making sure Hannah couldn't spin this story into something it wasn't. For months, she'd painted me as dull, uninteresting, a man she outgrew. She didn't deserve to walk away still wearing the mask of a loyal wife. The chance came on its own. Hannah's birthday was coming up, and she had planned this elaborate dinner at a fancy steakhouse. She invited her parents, her sister, her yoga friends, even a few coworkers. I was expected to smile, pay the bill, and play my role as the supportive husband while she basked in attention. But I had other plans. For weeks, I held my tongue. I let her laugh at secret texts, let her lie about weekend retreats, let her think she was pulling it off. She didn't realize I was already setting things in motion. I had spoken with the restaurant manager, slid a $100 bill across the counter, and asked if their screen could take a phone connection for a slideshow tribute. He smiled, said it could. So while Hannah was choosing a red dress and practicing that staged laugh she put on for family gatherings, I was loading every file, every receipt, every photo onto my phone. Quietly. I wasn't going to explode in anger at home. No, I was going to let the truth unfold under the very lights she had chosen to shine on herself. And when that night came, I was ready. The night of Hannah's birthday dinner felt surreal. I dressed in my best suit, tied my tie with steady hands, and reminded myself to keep my face calm. Lila knew the plan. She didn't come along. This wasn't her battle to fight in person, but she gave me one last hug at the door and whispered, "Make it count, Dad." When I arrived, Hannah was already at the restaurant, glowing in a red dress that turned heads as soon as she walked into the room. She looked every bit the loving wife celebrating her big day. She kissed my cheek in front of her family, a gesture that would have warmed me months ago. Tonight it felt rehearsed, like she was playing a role in a play she had written. The dinner started like any other. Laughter, clinking glasses, small talk about work, vacations, yoga retreats. Hannah held the spotlight with ease, cracking jokes, leaning into her friends, acting like the center of gravity for the whole room. I watched her, silent, wondering how she could look at me across the table with so much ease while living a double life. After appetizers, I stood up and tapped my glass with a spoon. People smiled, expecting the classic, husband gushes over wife, toast. Hannah even gave me a mock-embarrassed look, like she was ready for me to sing her praises. I took a breath. "I just want to take a moment to celebrate my wife tonight," I said. "She's worked hard, she's built a family, and she deserves to be recognized for everything she's been doing." I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and the restaurant's big TV came alive. The room quieted as photos and texts flashed across it. At first, people didn't process what they were seeing. Then came the words, Ethan calling her baby, Hannah writing she wished I would just stop breathing so life could be easier. A ripple of whispers spread across the tables. Her mom dropped her fork. One of her yoga friends covered her mouth. Hannah's sister sat frozen, eyes wide. Hannah herself went pale. She shot up from her chair, hissing, "Stop this, Mark. Turn it off." She reached for my phone, but I stepped back. The slideshow rolled on. Screenshots of hotel receipts. A FaceTime log at 2 a.m. with Ethan's name right at the top. I looked straight at Hannah and said, clear enough for everyone to hear, "You called me draining?" "No, Hannah. You drained this marriage dry. And now everyone knows it." The silence that followed was heavier than any fight we'd ever had. Then the room broke into scattered voices. Her sister stood up, glaring at her, and snapped, "You destroyed your family." Hannah stammered something about privacy and fake screenshots, but no one was buying it. Her own father turned his head away like he couldn't stand to look at her. Hannah stormed out, clutching her purse, her heels clicking sharp against the tile. Her friends didn't follow. Her family didn't either. The only sound left was the buzz of the TV still frozen on her texts. But that wasn't the end of it. Not yet. The fallout was only beginning, and I wasn't the only one prepared for it. After Hannah stormed out of the restaurant, the room sat in this strange half-silence. People were whispering, shifting uncomfortably, unsure if they should finish their meals or just leave. I stayed seated. For the first time in months, I felt steady. I didn't need to chase after her or raise my voice. The truth had already done its work. Her mother leaned across the table, her face pale, and asked me quietly, "Mark, how long has this been going on?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, then back at the screen, still lit with messages Hannah had sent. Her mom closed her eyes, like she already knew the answer. One of her yoga friends tried to break the tension with a nervous laugh. This has to be some mistake, right? Maybe hacked? Maybe." She stopped when she saw the hotel receipts with Hannah's signature. The proof was undeniable. I stood, picked up my phone, and shut the screen off. The room dimmed back into ordinary restaurant lighting, but the weight of what they had seen didn't fade. I raised my glass and said, "I wanted you all to know the truth, because she's been living a lie in front of every one of you. I won't carry that alone anymore." No one clapped. No one spoke. They just sat with it, the reality that the person they thought they knew had chosen something else. I walked out without looking back. Outside, the cool air hit me, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. But the night wasn't over. Hannah was waiting near the parking lot, pacing like she had rehearsed her excuses. When she saw me, she rushed over, her voice low and urgent. "Mark, please, what you did in there was cruel. That was private. You didn't have to humiliate me like that." I looked at her and said, "Private? You made it public the moment you invited your family and friends to sit across from me while you pretended to be a wife. I didn't humiliate you, Hannah. You did that yourself." She tried to grab my arm, lowering her voice. I needed something different, that's all. It didn't mean I stopped caring about you. That was almost laughable." I didn't respond. I just pulled my arm free and walked past her. She shouted after me, something about working it out, but her voice cracked halfway through. It didn't sound like love. It sounded like panic. I drove home alone. Lila was sitting on the couch, waiting. She looked up the moment I walked in, searching my face. I nodded once and said, "It's done." She didn't need details. She just hugged me, long and tight, and whispered, "Good." But what neither of us knew was that the biggest scene of the night hadn't even happened yet. That was still waiting to unfold back at that restaurant. While I was driving home, replaying everything in my head, the storm inside the restaurant hadn't settled. People were still buzzing about what they'd seen. Hannah's friends huddled together, whispering, some of them already scrolling on their phones, probably texting others about what just happened. Her parents sat stiff and silent, looking like they wanted to vanish. And then came the real twist. Hannah must have thought she could still get ahead of it. Word later reached me through one of her cousins. She had slipped back inside after I left, trying to explain herself. She walked up to her parents' table, her voice carrying enough for the room to hear. "It's not what it looks like. Mark's making it bigger than it is. He's bitter, and he's twisting things." But no one was nodding along. In fact, her own sister stood up, red in the face, and said, "Hannah, I saw those texts. Don't you dare try to spin this on him." That drew eyes from every corner of the room. Hannah raised her chin and shot back, "You don't understand. I was lonely. He stopped trying years ago. What was I supposed to do? Just waste my life feeling invisible?" Some people shifted in their seats. Others shook their heads. Whatever sympathy she thought she'd get wasn't coming. That's when the doors opened again, and in walked someone no one expected. Ethan's wife. She had found out. Later, I learned Lila had sent her the evidence earlier in the day, just like she promised she would. And now, in the middle of this already shattered dinner, Ethan's wife walked straight toward Hannah. No hesitation. The entire room went dead silent. Hannah froze. Her hand tightened around her purse strap, like she wanted to bolt. But Ethan's wife didn't scream. She didn't slap her. She picked up a glass of wine from a nearby table, looked Hannah dead in the eye, and poured it right over her head. Red liquid dripped down her perfect birthday dress. The crowd of family and friends sucked in their breath, the kind of sound a room makes when everyone realizes they've just witnessed something unforgettable. And then Ethan's wife said, loud enough for every table to hear, "You ruined 2 families. I hope it was worth it." The restaurant buzzed again, louder this time, people whispering, staring. Hannah sputtered, trying to wipe her face, saying, "This is insane." She's lying. But no one bought it. Not after everything that had just been shown. Not after the wine dripping down her shoulders. Her birthday dinner, the one she had carefully planned, had turned into a scene no one would forget. And the worst part for her? That was just the beginning of the fallout. By the time I got home that night, I thought the worst was over. I had no idea the ripple effect was just beginning. Hannah never came back through our door. She checked into some motel across town. Word spread fast. Her friends, her co-workers, even her own extended family had seen enough proof to know what she had done. Whatever reputation she had worked so hard to polish cracked in a single evening. Ethan didn't get away clean, either. His wife didn't just walk out of that restaurant. She went straight home, packed his bags, and put them on the front lawn. By the next morning, she'd filed for divorce and posted everything on Facebook for the world to see. "My husband and his girlfriend destroyed 2 families," she wrote, attaching screenshots Lila had sent. Half the town was talking about it before noon. As for me, I met with a lawyer the very next day. With the mountain of evidence I'd collected, the case was solid. Hannah wasn't getting the house. She wasn't touching my retirement. I filed for full custody of Lila, and the lawyer told me it would be hard for a judge to rule against it. Through it all, Lila was my anchor. She saw me sitting at the kitchen table with paperwork spread everywhere, and instead of breaking down like most kids her age would, she just hugged me and said, "See, Dad? She ruined herself. You just showed everyone the truth." Hearing that from her, my 14-year-old daughter, who had been more of an adult than either of us deserved, was the one piece of peace I had. Meanwhile, Hannah started blowing up my phone. First it was long texts about mistakes and confusion. Then came voicemails where her voice cracked. "I still love you, Mark. I just didn't know what I wanted. Please don't shut me out. We can fix this." Later, it turned into begging. "Don't throw away what we built. Think about Lila. Please just meet me once." But here's the truth. I don't owe her that. Not after what she chose. She stood in front of her family and friends, in front of our daughter's world, and showed everyone exactly who she was. She didn't think about Lila when she was sneaking off to hotels. She didn't think about me when she called me boring and draining. She thought only about herself. Some people will say revenge is petty. Maybe they're right. But I'll be honest. Watching her carefully built world collapse in the exact way she tried to make mine collapse gave me a sense of closure I didn't think I'd ever find. I'm not the weak, uninteresting man she painted me as. I'm someone who walked away with my dignity intact and my daughter beside me. And Hannah? She'll carry the weight of knowing she destroyed everything with her own choices. So here I am, 2 weeks later, typing this all out because I can't sleep, but for different reasons now. Not because of anxiety or heartbreak, but because my life is about to change in ways I couldn't have imagined. Divorce proceedings are moving fast. Lila and I are planning a trip together, just the 2 of us. For once, I feel like the ground under me is solid. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.